My name's Corrine Bruning, and I'm the Outreach Manager for eDemocracy. I came to eDemocracy for a couple of reasons. Mostly I use the forums as a way to connect with my neighborhood in Powderhorn. I found out about the forums from my boyfriend, which is funny because I'm much more of a community-oriented person than he is. And he told me, here's a space online where you can go and find out more about what's going on in the neighborhood. And so I joined the forum, and within 2 weeks of me joining the forum, there was this incident that happened in my local neighborhood park, Powderhorn Park. And basically the incident was a mother was cross-country skiing with her 2 kids, and 4 teenagers came out and attacked her, and actually sexually attacked her. And I found out about this news from the forum and read the articles that were in the local papers online. And those articles, at the bottom of the articles, the way people were talking about the incident and talking about the youth were sickening to me, because there were people saying things like we should hang those kids, or just discussing things, and a lot of assumptions were made about the backgrounds and the color of the skin of the youth themselves when that information wasn't even released. Whereas the conversation that was happening on the forum about what happened was much deeper. People were discussing how they were feeling, how they were fearful of going into the park themselves, how they didn't want to be digesting this experience themselves, and let alone, feeling for the mother and her family alone, and to let it keep them from the park. Because if everyone decided to just stay in their houses because they were fearful because of the incident, it would only perpetuate the problem, and it wouldn't help the issue of youth who were experiencing issues at home that caused them to do such horrible things. So the people on the forum, including me, decided to organize a peace vigil. And we ended up doing that within 5 days using Facebook. There was a person who was a journalist and did a huge press release and brought in the media. The vigil ended up being an amazing experience for people to connect with each other. And it was in November, so it was 9 degrees that day. We had fire pits to keep people warm. The people kept each other warm. And we actually had, there was a friend who posted a letter from the mom who was attacked, and so we read that at the peace vigil. And the mom was actually going through a restorative justice program at the time, and she said, me and my kids are doing okay, we're healing, and what I'd like to see happen is for people to think about the youth. And think about what was going on in their lives at that time when this happened. And so the following day there was a huge community meeting, and people talked about what was needed to help youth who were not getting help in this way. And ever since then there's been a group called the Southside Youth Worker Engagement Group that's been meeting to try to find gaps in youth programming and help professionalize the field of youth work. And for me, what that experience of interacting with eDemocracy over this kind of big story that happened, and this big reality that happened in my neighborhood, kind of just transformed the way that issues can be processed within the community, with depth, with action, with solutions. I wanted more of that, and luckily Stephen Clift, the executive director, contacted me after this experience, and ever since then I've been working with eDemocracy, doing outreach, trying to tell people about the power of this tool to connect communities. So I think being a good neighbor means, to me, is a willingness to be patient is somewhat number one, because I've definitely had some difficult neighbors and I understand that patience is necessary. An interest in the reality that interacting with your neighbors actually builds a stronger community that's better for you and your family, but for everyone, and an interest in building a better community for everyone and not just for yourself and your family, I think is really one of the key aspects of being a good neighbor. If people have an equal footing, then they have more capacity to contribute to society in a productive and meaningful way, and more people have the potential to be happy. And I think that's the right thing to do. I mean, basically, when it comes down to it, social justice is just the right way for society to work. My favorite quote is a tie. Of course, I'm a community organizer type person, so I love "Be the Change You Wish to See in the World" by Gandhi, because that's my goal. But I also have this kind of personal quote that is, "I only know that I live once. I can believe in something else, but I only know that I live once, so make the most of it." And a favorite word? Maybe pamplemousse. It's French. Right now, I think one of the key messages to the forums would be there's a lot of information that might be shared on your forum. You don't have to like everything that's on your forum. People are definitely going to have different opinions in the neighborhood. There are cranky neighbors and there are positive neighbors. You have the ability, like when you read the newspaper, to read the things that are interesting to you. Let's say you're really into community gardening and somebody shares some information about a local community garden day that's happening. Read that. But if somebody's talking about politics, for example, and you're not interested in that, don't read that. The way that the forum works is kind of like the newspaper. I'm not into sports personally. Hopefully you won't stop listening to what I'm saying now because you love sports. But when I read the paper, I don't read the sports section. People sometimes don't read the business section, the cartoon section, whatever you don't like. But you don't hate the paper because it has a sports section. So be open to what's there. Read what's interesting to you. If you don't see what's interesting to you there, maybe that's an opportunity for you to start what's interesting to you in your neighborhood. If you like pickup basketball games and you want to meet your neighbors and play basketball with them, that's something that you're empowered to ask other people to do with you. If you want to start a cooking club, you're empowered to do that on the forum. This is a space for us to take ownership of building community. So please do that.